Welcome back, everyone. Today's story is a masterclass in patience and the sweetest revenge I have ever read. Imagine building a literal empire from nothing. Imagine you build an entire empire, but someone else stands on top of your tower and spits down on your head for 10 long years. Our protagonist is a brilliant architect, a ghost designer who has been the real brain behind every success of a prestigious firm for a decade. But standing in his way is Sterling, a narcissistic boss who used psychological manipulation and constant threats to keep our hero trapped in the shadows. Sterling was a thief of credit, a man who never drew a single line but took all the glory while keeping the real talent chained. For 10 years, OP endured the abuse, the late nights, and the crushing weight of being unacknowledged by a man he truly despised for everything. Sterling constantly reminded him that without the firm's name, OP was a nobody. The gaslighting was intense, cruel, and designed to destroy any remaining self-confidence. But little did Sterling know, even the most patient ghost can haunt you if you give them the right tools and enough time to plan. The office was a graveyard of unrecognized genius, where every pillar and every beam in the city's skyline was a testament to OP's stolen hard work. He walked through the halls like a king, oblivious to the fact that his kingdom was built on the resentment of the very person he oppressed. The rain mirrored the mood inside the firm. A storm was brewing, and OP was finally ready to stop being the victim of Sterling's massive ego. It started 10 years ago with a promise of mentorship, a promise that quickly turned into a gilded cage designed to harvest OP's creative mind. The insults were public, the credit was private. Sterling would scream at OP in front of the staff, then present OP's work as his own. A decade of life gone. Every award Sterling won was another dagger in OP's heart, but also another reason to wait for the perfect moment. OP started keeping receipts. Every threat, every confession of theft, every arrogant outburst was recorded and saved in a hidden, encrypted folder for later use. The leverage was building up, but OP knew that a simple lawsuit wouldn't be enough to truly destroy a man like Sterling who had connections. Sterling loved his image more than anything. To destroy him, OP needed to shatter that image in front of the entire world, not just a judge. He had a family to support, and Sterling knew it. He used that financial dependency like a leash, tightening it whenever OP tried to stand up. This guy, Sterling, is the definition of a Captain A-hole. He didn't just want the work, he wanted to own the person behind the great work. Every trophy in that lobby was a lie. Every headline in the architectural magazines was a fabrication built on the silence of a man in shadows. But ghosts have a way of leaving footprints where you least expect them. OP was a master of the systems Sterling didn't even understand at all. Sterling's ignorance was his greatest weakness. He was so detached from the actual work that he couldn't see the traps being set right under him. Another night shift ends. Another day closer to the project that would change everything for both the architect and the thief who exploited him. The Zenith, this was it, the biggest contract in the city's history, and the project Sterling planned to use as his final, glorious retirement legacy. OP accepted the assignment with a quiet nod. He knew this wasn't just another job. This was the canvas for his final, brilliant masterpiece of revenge. And this is where the story gets really, really good. Get ready, because the blueprint for Sterling's downfall was about to be drawn in permanent ink. The Zenith was designed to be a billion-dollar marvel of glass and steel. It was intended to be the tallest, most iconic building in the region. Sterling pitched it as his own magnum opus. He spoke about vision and dedication, while OP stood in the corner, holding the actual remote control. The schedule was impossible. Sterling pushed OP to work 20 hours a day, demanding perfection so he could retire in a blaze of stolen glory. The anger finally crystallized into a plan. OP realized that Sterling never checked the actual technical files. He only looked at the pretty, finished pictures. That was the fatal mistake. Sterling was too lazy to understand the how, as long as the what looked good enough to sell to the board. OP spent 6 months carefully weaving a logic bomb into the very structure and lighting systems of the building's massive, high-tech LED facade. It was brilliant. A system so complex that only the creator could understand the hidden pattern embedded within the thousands of steel panels and lights. Sterling became even more unbearable as the deadline approached. He threatened to ruin OP's reputation permanently if the building wasn't finished exactly on time. OP just nodded and said, "Yes, sir. It will be a night no one will ever forget." He wasn't lying. He was giving a warning. The zenith began to climb. It was a monster of steel, and every single part of it was being prepared for the ultimate moment of truth. OP supervised the installation of the facade personally. He told the technicians it was a special branding feature requested by Sterling himself for the opening. The workers didn't ask questions. They just followed the blueprints provided by the lead architect, or at least, the man they thought was in charge. Meanwhile, Sterling was on every news channel, bragging about how he hand-drew every floor. He was digging his own grave with every single lie. OP watched the lies with a cold satisfaction. The more Sterling claimed the work as his own, the more devastating the coming revelation would be. The trap was set. A simple code, triggered by the same button Sterling would press to light up the building for the very first time. Sterling was so focused on the superficial details that he never noticed the massive shifts in the technical infrastructure that OP was implementing daily. The city waited in anticipation. The Zenith was touted as the future of architecture, and the man behind it was supposedly a living legend. In the final weeks, OP worked in secret, ensuring that the secondary display system was perfectly synced with the public announcement system of the tower. Visionary? Hardly. He was a parasite who had forgotten that a parasite dies if it destroys the host that actually keeps it alive. OP looked back at his original sketches. 10 years of stolen dreams were about to be reclaimed in a single brilliant moment of public justice. The tension in the office was at a breaking point. Everyone knew Sterling was a fraud, but only OP had the courage and the means. The detail OP hid was so subtle that even a trained eye wouldn't see it until the lights hit the glass at a specific angle. He also embedded digital signatures into every single file Sterling had sent to the contractors, proof that would be undeniable once it was finally revealed. Sterling signed the final documents without reading them. He was too busy planning his retirement party and his victory speech for the grand opening. From the top of the Zenith, the world looked small. OP felt a sense of peace. The heavy chains of the last decade were loosening. The day was set, the invitations were sent, the trap was locked and loaded. Now, it was just a matter of waiting for the button. 1 week before the opening, OP made a move that Sterling never expected. He arranged a secret meeting with the chairman of the investment group. The chairman was a man who valued integrity above all else. He was the one person Sterling was actually terrified of failing or displeasing. OP didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for a job. He just said, "I think you should see who actually designed your billion-dollar legacy." The evidence was overwhelming. Decade-old sketches, initial concepts, and the private recordings of Sterling's verbal abuse and admissions of theft were all there. The chairman listened to Sterling's voice on the recording saying, "I don't care if it's your work. It's my name on the door, you little nobody." The chairman was silent for a long time. Finally, He looked at OP and asked, "What do you want to happen at the ceremony?" OP replied, "I want him to show the world exactly who he is. I want him to press the button himself and finish it." Oh man, the stage was set. The chairman was on board, and Sterling was walking straight into a buzzsaw of his own making. The preparations continued, but now with the secret backing of the man who signed the checks, Sterling thought the extra equipment was for him. Sterling was so blinded by his own vanity that he didn't notice the IT team replacing the media servers with entirely new hardware and software. The system was locked. No one, not even the building's regular security, could access the display files until the grand opening moment arrived. OP resigned quietly 3 days before the event. Sterling didn't care. He figured the work was done and he didn't need the ghost anymore. Sterling laughed, telling the other staff that OP was just jealous and couldn't handle seeing Sterling take his rightful place in history. The building seemed to pulse with a life of its own. It was a giant, sleeping giant waiting to scream the truth to the entire city. OP wasn't hiding. He was just waiting for the right angle to witness the most satisfying moment of his entire 30-year-old life. Thousands of brochures were printed, all claiming Sterling as the lone genius. They would soon become the most expensive pieces of trash in history. The chairman was ready too. He had instructed his lawyers to prepare a very different kind of contract for the morning after the ceremony, the final 24 hours. The air in the city felt electric, as if everyone could sense something monumental was about to happen at the zenith. Sterling practiced his humility. He practiced the way he would thank the little people while making sure everyone knew he was the big one. The drone footage would be broadcast live to millions. The stage wasn't just local, it was international, the perfect scale for a total collapse. OP had his own trigger, just in case. But he knew Sterling wouldn't be able to resist being the one to light the fuse himself. The red carpet was rolled out, the champagne was on ice. The elite of the city were putting on their finest clothes for the slaughter. "I've got my popcorn ready." This is the part where the Captain A-hole finally finds out what happens when you steal from a genius. The man of the hour arrived. He looked like $1 million, but he was worth less than the dirt under OP's shoes in reality. The building was silent. It was a giant canvas of glass and potential, waiting for the signal to reveal its hidden, true identity. He was at the peak, the zenith of his career, and as we all know, there is only one way to go when you are at the top. OP was there, a shadow among the lights. He didn't need a tuxedo. He just needed to see the expression on Sterling's face when it happened. The microphone was hot. The world was listening. Sterling stepped up, cleared his throat, and began the beginning of the end of his life. The chairman didn't clap. He just watched. He knew that in a few minutes, the man on stage would be a social and professional pariah. The countdown was about to begin. The most expensive light show in history was about to become the most expensive confession in history. Sterling began his speech. "This building," he said, "is more than just steel. It is the physical manifestation of my soul and my life's work." The news anchor gushed about Sterling's unmatched geniuses and how he had single-handedly redefined the city's iconic and world-famous skyline. OP whispered to himself, "Go on, Sterling. Lie a little more. Make it hurt when the truth finally hits the fan tonight." He actually had the audacity to talk about being alone in the office. The very office where he had left OP to rot for a decade. A few people in the crowd knew. They were the ones Sterling had also stepped on. They were waiting for the miracle OP had promised them. And now, Sterling shouted over the cheers, "Let there be light! Let the world see the vision I have created for all of you." The countdown began. Thousands of voices joined in, creating a roar that echoed through the concrete canyons of the dark and expectant city. He pressed it. With all the theatrical flair of a man who thought he had won life, Sterling slammed his hand down on the button. The signal traveled, not to the pretty patterns Sterling expected, but to the hidden subdirectory that OP had spent months perfecting and hiding. Silence. A beat of pure, agonizing stillness. Sterling's smile faltered for just a fraction of a second as he looked up at the dark glass. Then it happened. The entire facade didn't glow with the Zenith logo. It glowed with a giant, messy, hand-drawn architectural sketch from 10 years ago. The name was huge. It spanned 20 floors. And right next to it was the date, a date long before Sterling ever claimed the project. Sterling froze. The color drained from his face until he was as white as a sheet. He looked like a man who had just seen his own ghost. Oh, it gets better. The building wasn't just showing names. It was starting to tell the whole, dirty story of Sterling's massive fraud. It was a scroll of shame. A decade of theft being broadcast to the entire world on the biggest billboard ever created by human hands. And then the speakers kicked in. "You're a ghost! You're nothing!" Sterling's voice boomed over the plaza, loud enough to wake the entire city. The silence of the crowd was deafening. Thousands of people watched as their hero was revealed to be a petty, cruel, and incompetent thief. This is a technical glitch," he stammered. But the recording of him laughing about faking his credentials played right over his pathetic excuses. The chairman didn't need to say a word. His walk said everything. The power had shifted, and Sterling was now just a small man in a big suit. OP watched his name glow on the side of the building. For the first time in 10 years, he wasn't a ghost. He was the architect. The building itself was accusing him. Thief! 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 The red light washed over the plaza, painting everyone in the color of Sterling's guilt. There was no escape. He had invited the world to watch his coronation, but he had accidentally invited them to his public execution instead. He looked pathetic. The visionary was just a broken man on his knees, surrounded by the evidence of his own lifetime of lies and deception. "Sterling," the chairman's voice echoed, "you are fired, and you will be hearing from our legal team before the sun even comes up tomorrow." The mob turned quickly. People who had admired him seconds ago were now booing and throwing their expensive brochures at the stage in disgust. The chairman gave OP a single, sharp nod of respect. The truth was out, and the real talent was finally being recognized by the man who mattered. The entire city could see it. For miles around, people were stepping out onto their balconies to see the building that was exposing a billionaire. Fraud, embezzlement, and a host of other charges were waiting for him. OP hadn't just exposed a lie. He had exposed a massive criminal enterprise. This is justice. This is the kind of pro-revenge that makes you want to stand up and cheer for the underdog who finally won it all. Once the shame was over, the building returned to its beauty. But now, it was beauty with a name, the right name attached to it forever. OP didn't stay for the interviews. He didn't need the fame. He just needed the world to know he existed and that he was capable. The morning papers would be brutal. Sterling's name would be stripped from every building, every award, and every history book in the architectural world. The firm was dead. But from its ashes, something much better was about to be built by the person who actually knew how to build. But the story doesn't end with just a light show. The real destruction of Sterling's life was just beginning in the courtrooms and banks. The legal battle was short and devastating. Sterling's assets were frozen, and his reputation was so toxic that even his own family moved away. He lost the mansion, the cars, and the art collection he had bought with the money he made from stealing other people's creative hard work. OP, on the other hand, was offered a partnership by the chairman. He now runs his own studio, and he treats his staff with absolute respect. He remembers what it was like to be the ghost. In his firm, every designer gets their name on the project, no matter how junior they are. The Zenith still stands. It's the most popular building in the city, not just for its height, but for the story of truth it represents. OP's work is now taught in schools. He became the legend Sterling always wanted to be, but he did it by actually being a genius. Sometimes, late at night, Sterling still hears that recording of his own voice, a reminder that his own arrogance was the hammer that broke him. Justice was served cold, bright, and with a side of billion-dollar irony. This is why you never, ever mess with the person who designs the building. He's no longer a ghost. He's a husband, a father, and the most respected architect in the country. He's finally living his own life. As for Sterling and Associates, it's just a footnote in a textbook about corporate fraud, a warning to all the other parasites out there. The people he worked with finally found their voices too. Many of them joined OP's new firm, creating a powerhouse of talent and mutual respect. Every new line he draws is a victory. Every new building he completes is a testament to the fact that you can't bury true talent forever. To the truth, the chairman says. OP clinks his glass and replies, to the people who actually do the work. A toast to the real ones. The city sleeps, but the story of the ghost architect lives on, a modern-day legend for anyone who feels trapped in someone else's shadow. The scale has been corrected. The small man is in his small place, and the great man is out in the great, wide world. What a ride! I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. It's not every day you see a billion-dollar revenge go off so perfectly. His vision is no longer a secret. It's the light that guides his new life. And it's a light that will never be stolen again by anyone. He is the architect of his own destiny now. And judging by the skyline, he's doing a pretty amazing job of it, don't you think? Even if he ever gets out, he will never work in this industry again. His name is synonymous with the word failure in every language. He builds for the people now, not for the ego of a boss, and that makes all the difference in the quality of the work he produces. That's it for today's story. Remember, if you're a ghost, make sure you know how to haunt the right people at the right time. The Zenith stands as a permanent reminder. The truth always finds a way to the surface, especially when it's written in a billion-dollar light. The world is a big place, but it was too small for Sterling's ego and OP's talent to coexist. Only one of them could truly survive. He's already planning the next one. And this time, he's the one who will press the button. And he'll do it with a clean conscience. A new day, a new project, and a new life. The ghost has finally found its way home, into the light where it always belonged. The legacy continues with a new generation of honest creators. The cycle of theft has been broken, replaced by a cycle of true mentorship. The awards are real now. They aren't just pieces of metal. They are symbols of a decade of struggle that finally ended in a magnificent victory. The physical remnants of the fraud are being cleared away. The city is being cleaned of his influence, one brick and one beam at a time. It was the perfect revenge. No violence, no blood, just the cold, hard truth presented in the most spectacular way possible to the entire world. Thanks for hanging out, guys. This was a long one, but man, was it worth it. OP really showed us how to play the long game. Don't ever underestimate the quiet person in the corner. They might just be the one holding the keys to your entire world and your future. The end of one story is just the beginning of another. And for OP, the future is looking as bright as a 100-story LED facade at night. The roles have reversed. The man who made OP a ghost is now the one haunted by his own failures and the memory of his theft. Good night, City. Good night, Zenith. And good night to the man who finally stood up and reclaimed his name and his genius from a thieving boss. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe. We have plenty more stories of justice and revenge coming your way very soon. We love reading your reactions. Have you ever worked for a Sterling? Tell us your story in the comments below. We might even read it. Everything is temporary, except the impact of true talent. Sterling was just a ripple, but OP is the solid ground that the city stands on. The world needs more architects like OP. People who build with passion and lead with integrity. That is the real lesson of this entire story. He can't even draw a straight line. He never could. He just knew how to sign his name to lines that were drawn by much better men. The gift of creation is being passed down, but this time, it's accompanied by the values of honesty and hard work that OP lived by. May it always shine as a reminder that the person behind the work is just as important as the work itself. Integrity is the foundation. Thank you for listening to this tale of a billion-dollar scandal. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing this journey with all of you today. Keep building your own dreams. Don't let anyone ever tell you that your work doesn't matter or that you are just a ghost in the machine. The architect is at work. A new blueprint is being made. And this time, every single line belongs to him and him alone, forever. The end of a fraud, the beginning of a legend. This was the story of the ghost architect and the revenge that lit up the world. He really did win. Flawless victory. Sterling never stood a chance once the truth was programmed into the very walls he claimed to have built. See you in the next one, guys. Stay safe, stay creative, and always keep your original files timestamped and backed up in a safe place. The ghost is gone, and the sunlight has returned to the office. Everything is as it